If you dislike the West, and if you hate the West's values, if you think the West is evil fundamentally and deserves to be destroyed, then anything Donald Trump does basically short of surrender will be too far for you. If I was visiting the school 100 years ago, speaking in support of an American president, I think we would at least have some broad agreement on what a country's leader should be trying to do. But we don't anymore. I don't think it's because America's changed. In fact, I think it's because Britain has changed. From my perspective, Britain is one of the greatest countries in the history of the world. You were the country of Shakespeare, the steam engine, and Adam Smith. You defeated Napoleon. You destroyed the slave trade. You stood up to Hitler. My country, America, became great as it is because of what we inherited from you, from Britain. When I hear the slogan, "Make America Great Again," I'm also hearing, quote, "Return America to its British roots." Great Britain has everything in the world to be proud of. But when I look at Britain today, I see a country where the ruling elites are in a race to abandon the very values, the values that made them so great in the first place. I wish I could blame this all on labor, all on the left, but I can't. This country just had its 14th uninterrupted year of so-called conservative rule. And what did they conserve exactly? Well, they didn't conserve the ancient British rights to freedom of speech. In Britain today, 30 people a day are arrested for offensive posts on social media. According to The Telegraph, praying silently within 600 feet of an abortion clinic can get you arrested in Scotland, as a 74-year-old woman named Rose just learned weeks ago. Members of Parliament scold British citizens for thinking they have the right to say things, say that they do not have the right to say things that offend Muslims. 14 years of conservative rule didn't conserve British prosperity. Adjusted for inflation cost of living, the average British worker makes less today than they did in 2008. Outside of London, the British have lower incomes than every one of America's 50 states. And it never used to be this way. British industry pays 4 times as much for electricity as America does. You have the highest electricity rates in the world, a consequence of a choice of going net neutral. Nothing will kill a modern economy faster than high energy prices. And the country that again invented the steam engine now has some of the highest energy prices on the planet. But above all, 14 years of conservative control didn't preserve the British nation. This country's conservatives thought it was their moral duty to allow anyone from the third world to move here. They didn't need to hold Western values. They didn't need to have useful skills. They could go on welfare immediately. Just last week, Keir Starmer announced he's changing the law to make sure immigrants who commit crimes are deported because the conservatives never actually bothered passing that law themselves. The dying out of the British nation means the dying out of Christianity. Britain is the birthplace of Baptists, Methodists, Presbyterians, Anglicans, Quakers, and more. I would guess that more Christian denominations trace back to Britain than any other country. But soon, Britain will have more practicing Muslims than practicing Christians. I think that will be a catastrophic change, and everyone knows it. That's why it's only Muslims moving to Christian countries, never the other way around. I don't want America to go the way of Britain. I want us to remain free. I want us to remain rich and innovative. I want us to remain Christian. I don't want Americans to be replaced. But forget what I want. This is what the American people want. And in a democracy, the people are supposed to get what they want. The very same people that lecture us about democracy have a lot of problems with the consequence. Conservative commentator Charlie Kirk used a speech at the University of Oxford to deliver a stark warning about the future of religion in Britain, claiming that the decline of Christianity will lead to a demographic and cultural shift in favor of Islam. The dying out of Britain is the dying out of Christianity, Kirk told the audience. Soon Britain will have more practicing Muslims than practicing Christians. His remarks were framed as a truth bomb about what he sees as the erosion of the UK's historic faith and the societal consequences that follow. Kirk's appearance at Oxford drew both interest and controversy, with supporters praising his willingness to address issues of religion and national identity head-on, and critics accusing him of stoking cultural division. The Turning Point ISEF founder has built his career on combative political commentary in the United States, and his foray into Britain's religious landscape reflects a broader transatlantic trend of right-wing figures engaging in culture war debates abroad. Religious affiliation in the UK has been shifting for decades. Census data shows a steady decline in self-identified Christians alongside a rise in those identifying as Muslim, as well as a growing proportion of the population declaring no religion at all. While some demographers caution against alarmist projections, Kirk's comments tap into concerns among parts of the British public about immigration, integration, and the preservation of national heritage. The reaction to his speech underscores the polarized nature of Britain's public discourse on faith and identity. To supporters, Kirk is voicing uncomfortable truths that political leaders ignore. To detractors, he is importing an Americanized style of culture war rhetoric into an already tense conversation. Whether Kirk's warning resonates beyond the lecture hall remains to be seen, but his intervention has ensured that Britain's religious future and the political narrative surrounding it will remain firmly in the spotlight. I just want to, I know that you might not have had a chance to have sight of this, but it's a story we're going to be covering more at 10 p.m. And the front page of tomorrow's independent newspaper has landed, and on that they have a revelation that prosecutions for people smuggling and human trafficking appears to have dropped under this Labour government. So in the last year, there it is. Abject failure as smuggling arrests fall under Labour. And that is an exclusive that they've got. And it says, on the day that small boat crossings soared to 50,000 and dozens more migrants attempt to reach Britain by sea, we reveal that the government is also failing with the gangs. That is a headline that I think frankly just blows up any notion that Starmer and Cooper have got of smashing the gangs, doesn't it? And it's in a left-wing newspaper. Yes. And I'm really glad that the Independent have actually done this, because I've been saying for years that you will not be able to break the gangs. You know, you can't do it. It's not going to happen. And now the Independent have actually got on board as well. Perhaps people might start to listen. These smuggling gangs that they're catching are either very, very lucky, or they're in the UK, and you can capture them in the UK because that's our jurisdiction. But even if we're there in France, and even if we're working closely with the French, at the end of the day, it's still up to the French. And I think the guy that was running the tourist business, what did he get? 2 years? Yeah. Well, that's the other aspect. That is the other aspect to it. That is the other aspect. So recently on this show, I've covered a bloke who was caught with an inflatable dinghy in the back of a van with petrol and a load of life jackets, traveling it to Greyleman, which is where a load of people take the boats from. He avoided jail. He was given a suspended sentence. So you caught someone red-handed supplying a boat for the purpose of illegal immigration. No punishment really. I think he might have got a small fine and asked politely to leave France. And then you've got now a bloke who's been running fake tourism operations in Kalala guiding people towards the boats. Again, slap on the wrist from the French authorities. Absolutely pathetic, isn't it? And look, like I said, we're going to get stuck more into that big revelation on the front of the Independent tomorrow, which is the arrest for human traffickers is dropped under Labour. I mean, that is devastating. It's also another demonstrable mistruth. So if you're going to be there standing in front of us and going smash the gangs, smash the gangs, smash the gangs, you know that there are figures out there that prove that the opposite is true. I mean, it's horrific. But Kevin, look, thank you very much. I'm going to leave it there. Kevin Sword is a former chief immigration officer in Calais and Dunkirk.